That was weird. That was so weird. Oh, I'll just cut away from that. I must have hit a button or something. I was going, hello, everybody. Welcome. Glad you are here. Thanks for joining us on Old Gray Bricks. We are going to be talking about Lego Masters today, and we do have a Lego Master champion in the house, formerly known as a Castle Bro. Have you guys settled that out? Is that still, I mean, I know it's a funny thing in the thing, but, you know, is that still, do y'all still joke about that? Or
That's all Caleb and Jacob now. That's their life. I mean, we're no longer the Castles, the former Castle Bros, so it's good.
Well, and that's true. Now that you've moved on, you're building Rock Raiders and all that kind of stuff, right?
I haven't built a castle since Lego Masters, so I mean, it's the truth. So.
Oh, there's another formerly known as Castle Bro there.
Former Castle Bro.
I've built a castle since Lego Masters.
I built a castle.
Okay.
So is VW. VW's built a castle.
Yes,
he has.
I have.
He has built an amazing castle. Hello, Olden Surly is here. Aubrey, hello, welcome. So we're going to talk Lego Masters a little bit. Pink Wheels. Hey, by the way, I'm a praying kind of guy, so I'm praying for Pink Wheels. Praying, thinking whatever your thing is, throw it out there for Pink Wheels, so she can get through this battle and start to win it. She's going to take the fight to it on Friday, so praying for you, my friend. Battery Powered Bricks, hello. How are you? Good to have you all here. So we're talking Lego Masters. Let's just go ahead. Did everybody do the homework? Everybody watch the show, right? Okay.
I just finished it. Right, I've seen it twice, but didn't really get it the first time. So.
I was going to call you out, man.
Did it float your boat?
Oh, we haven't even gotten started, and you're already doing that.
You're stealing Matthew's jokes.
You know what? You got to be kidding me about that.
That's for next week.
I know. I'm getting ahead of the game. I'm getting ahead of the game.
I will say that when they preview next week with the kittens, I literally texted Maddie, and I'm like, they had kittens on, and she's like, we should have been cast. She's like, we would have nailed that kitten challenge because we both love our cats, and we would have run with that kitten challenge. And she's like, I don't even know if I can watch it now.
I may have let out a little bit of a squee when I saw the kittens.
Mm-hmm. So what we would have done if you would have been on the show, we would have had you and Maddie, and you guys would have been on one side of the thing, and we would have just talked the whole time.
Yep, it's true. It's true. I don't know if anybody on the panel has seen this, but one of the all-time, for my opinion, funniest movies that involve cats is a scene in Team America World Police when there's supposed to be tigers that are going to attack the little dolls, the marionettes, and it's like two house cats, and it's like, no, release the tigers, and there's like these two house cats that come across the screen. And I saw in the theater, and I literally was like rocking back and forth in my seat, howling with laughter. I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Pink Wheels. I wonder if they did that. Did they go through, hey, by the way, do you have an allergy to cats? And because that would have been pretty interesting, right?
Well, and because they did dogs last season.
Yeah, I'd assume part of the screener and the info you have to fill out is, are you allergic to anything, right? Like, so there's so many questions on that screener. It might have been in there, and I don't even remember.
I don't remember either. I'm pretty sure it was on there. I think it was something, yeah.
Along with, how many felonies have you committed, and how many states did you commit those felonies in? Somewhere in there might have been a question about allergies.
At least Aubrey says, at least I didn't cast a better version of you, Matt. There's an Aubrey on there, and she's from Utah, but haven't met her yet. That's hilarious.
And I think now that Aubrey is almost online with the number of Chris A-Foles that I know. So it's crazy.
There is an abnormal number of Aubreys. I'm just going to say,
and it's not like it's a common name either. I mean, there's only one other Dana Afol that I know. So, at least I've still got that unique characteristic going on. But
Yeah, how many Davids though?
How many Knutsons?
how many Zools? I mean,
There is no Dana.
We only know one other Erickson, Hunter Erickson. That's it.
I don't think there are any Giddens around. Anyway, all right. Aubrey's they're taking over.
take it over.
All right. So we've all done the homework. Spoiler alert: if you're watching the show right now, we are going to talk Lego Masters. It came on Thursday. You've had plenty of time to watch it, and for Steven, you just got done 3 seconds ago. So that's fine. That's all good.
Seen it twice.
You've seen it twice?
Yeah, but the first time I was at a meet and greet while it was happening in Orlando, so I couldn't really watch. I was talking to people the whole time. So.
I don't know if y'all it's kind of interesting. I think this season more than any that I've noticed is that the contestants are showing more video of watch parties. They're showing even today they haven't had pictures of their own builds and stuff like that. And maybe Fox is loosening up some rules on that, maybe, or is it just they're encouraging them to use their social media? What do you guys think on that?
So it's been like that for every season, but I don't think that everybody's already pre-followed this season. You know what I'm saying? So because they had a trailer released so early and they weren't even announced, it's like, okay, obviously Tim and Tim are on there. You got Duck Bricks, you got all these people that we recognize. And I think we're just seeing it more because it's in our feed more, I guess. But I remember following season 1, Aaron Newman, and it was a good friend of mine. He was sharing everything on Instagram. So I think that it's like maybe everybody's more ready to share it on their Instagram, and everyone's already following them. I think maybe.
I think they're getting a little bit more material than what we got. We got just a couple pictures, I think they're more on top of the stuff that they're giving the actual contestants. I think that's got to be something because I'm noticing the higher volume of more variety, and I'm like, okay, we didn't have this much variety.
I mean, one of the complaints from previous seasons is that, especially early when there's so many teams, is you only get like a couple of angles for each build. And, we've heard from various people like, oh, on the backside, there was this thing, or this was motorized, but it didn't even appear on the TV screen. And certainly that's something that, we've heard a variety of people say, we wish there were more like still photos or video clips that you could just go and look, where you could kind of like go around and maybe do a 360 of everybody's build. Maybe they've heard that. Maybe they've tried to make that a little more, I don't know, but hopefully that's the case.
Well,
Maybe
I
one
mean,
day.
for me, I don't know how hard it would be in production to have just a 3D spin cam. You set the thing down, you set it around it, and you just zip that camera around the whole mock and then post that, like 2 days after the show. So everybody can see what it is, slow it down. That can't be that hard. I mean,
Google does it every freaking street in the world. I mean,
Well, it's Google versus Lego Masters here, guys.
Well,
It's a little smaller.
The technology is there. It's not crazy anymore. I mean, you can do it yourself with your own phone. You can create 360 photos for someone to spin around something. So it's not like it's science fiction and it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to create this technology. No, it's there. It's on your freaking phone. Just do it.
The Matrix came out 25 years ago, people. We can do bullet time with Lego now.
It's exactly. I mean, for the fact that they've got guys doing animation, stop motion animation of the actual builds from the show, how hard would it be to do a spin around 360 camera to show the builds? I mean, just saying.
I mean, it just because we would honestly, and we'll just go ahead and say it here, we are more interested in the build more than anything else for us being old gray bricks and all that kind of stuff.
Which ironically, we are the minority of the viewers anyway. So
it is. We are.
A little bit.
And before we get into the show, let me just go ahead and put this disclaimer out there. We have the utmost respect for anybody that's on the show. We have the utmost respect for the harsh, hard, difficult, stressful environment that Lego Masters is. So when we can make a critique of a build or what they produce and all that kind of stuff, it comes with a massive amount of respect for being on the show and doing all these things and putting yourself out there on TV. And Dana, what did you do to my computer?
I don't know. I'm playing.
What? You're taking us
We're
all
gone.
off.
I didn't know I had this type of control, and it's not even.
It's the
coming up.
Matrix.
It's gone to his head.
You
It's
made
gone
fun
to
of the
his head.
Matrix, and there it is.
Now it's back for revenge.
And it's
I've
not
got
even
it
doing what
pulled
I
up.
wanted
I'll
it to
share
do.
it.
All I did
So a
was
lot-
hit share or present share screen, and it just automatically took over.
No, I'll do it. Didn't you share that little grid of time? Did you share that with us today, or am I? I know on you guys did a show about Lego Masters, and a guy Morgan or whatever in your thing, he actually has this very nice spreadsheet. Hint, Matt, that he listed out the times of every build and everything, and so I thought that was shared, but it may have just been in another tab. I saw it today and everything. But so anyway, back to the disclaimer real quick. We're super appreciative of our friends who are on the show. We appreciate it. So if you hear any critique, it's mostly to production in the show. No, hello. We alternate candidate. Does that mean somebody on the show? Anyway, but when we give a critique of a build and everything, we understand there's a massive amount of pressure. So we're not dogging anybody personally. But we're just going to do an honest assessment of what's going on, and but with the utmost respect, because there have been people in here who have won it, and there have been people in here who have been told to hit the bricks because we don't want you on the show. So anyway,
So I will
Here,
say
here.
I've had a couple conversations, people like Moto and Erickson's, and one of the things that I've said is that while I did apply and I got pretty far along in one of the casting seasons, I'm not sure that if I was on the show I would last all that long, because while I think I'm decent at building creatively, I never build under a clock, and I think that would really be hard. And I actually did a simulation of it, and afterwards I said to the Ericksons, like, I was mentally fried. I mean, like, the last hour of building all day, I was just spent. And, I was like, okay, it's done. I'm happy with it. Let's stop. And like the last 30 minutes, I was like, it's good enough, and you would think, you're building and it's fun and, you love Lego, but
It's relaxing.
yeah, but you're on and you feel that pressure. And so even if we critique people, I would say for myself, I certainly respect that it's not a casual sitting in your Lego room building stuff and letting the creativity flow. It's a different experience than what most of us who are in the hobby deal with. So total props to all the people who are under that clock for doing that. So
and I will say it has crossed my mind as I've been down here struggling to get like an engine pod, and it's been like 2 hours, and I've built and rebuilt an engine pod for 3 hours, and it's this big, and I'm like, oh, I would get so nailed on that show. It would, I would not make it.
Well, and I wanted to. I hope we can talk about this later on some of the builds that we see from this episode. Is because you've got to have the right, and I'm a love-hate relationship with this whole process, that you got to have the right partner and the right team.
Yeah.
And I know that you boys here, you complement each other in what you do and what your skill, what your pluses and your minuses are, your pros and your skills and your weaknesses. You complement each other, and that's key in this type of scenario. And that's where Mark, or not Mark, doing it already, Chris and I, where actually if it was me or Mark, me or Chris, or me or Matthew, we would always be pushing the other versus, because I don't know, I mean, granted, we're going to show the floppy rover again somewhere along this evening, but it never fails. If I post something, one of them will say, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? And that's crucial for team building. It's crucial.
Being able to being able to have ideas and say, when it comes down to it, we're going with that one is crucial. And yes, we do say iron sharpens iron, but you're going to melt down on the show. I get it. Oh, there, your mom's here. Hey,
It's Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
So awesome. All right, Pink Wheels has already said she's team grannies, and that's awesome. We'll talk about that. I love it. Talking about some snot. All right, but let's look at the builds and everything. We'll go through the teams, and there are 12 teams right now. Who knows if there's going to be more teams or less? All the surprises.
I hope not.
But so we have 12 teams. and I'm gonna be like, okay, who are these? What is their thing and everything? And I guess with 12 teams, that is important to have a little bit of a hook so we can remember the grannies and all the kind of things. I get it. But like I said, us old grays, we are more excited about the builds than we are the stories per se. But sure, the stories will bring us in, and as they make the build more interesting, because you're like, I'll just go ahead and say it. The grannies use snot. I don't know. They did a quick shot. They were putting the side of their build together. I'm like, they're using snot.
They got texture going on.
Yeah. And then that baby sunk. Right
Dropped
now.
like a boot.
I mean, like 2 seconds. I didn't even think there was a half a second, truthfully.
I don't think so either.
It was the steel toe boot. That's what it was.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
home, I was saying the animation after it sank needed to be like 2 Lego underwater people that dive down to the wreck. Like, you got people who go down to underwater wrecks. That would have been an amazing animation.
A dive team. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay. I didn't want to bring this up, but the freaking Canadian team won this week. You know that, right?
So I actually got a chance to meet Sam at Brick
Oh,
Slope,
another Canadian.
and I didn't know he was on season 4. And he came in with Brad, and they were just chatting, and so he was like, "Oh, this is Sam," and I hadn't connected that Sam was on season 4, and super nice guy. He came down from Edmonton. Actually, it was like between Sam and I, who had traveled the longest distance from North America, because I was from Atlanta and he came from Edmonton. And I think we Googled it, and Atlanta was actually further away from Salt Lake than Edmonton was. So
Wow. All right, so let's
but
go with the
that is
builds, and
another
then we'll
build.
discuss them, discuss the teams, and then maybe we'll even talk about what we would have built if we were on the show. That's always fun. But this is the Christopher and Robert, the Pitch Party Pagoda pontoon, and I've turned on the dot beside my phone by saying whatever I said. Anyway, so this is Duck Bricks, correct? Is that who? That's who this
Yep.
is. So interesting to their story, they admitted flat out they were not mock builders.
Exactly.
So all right, so talk to me about knowing that fact and knowing them. Tell me about the build.
So I'm going to go ahead and jump in with this. So when they said that they were not mock builders, I was a little concerned in general about how they were going to do. But when you build 7,000 sets, you're going to probably pick up a skill or two. And that seems to be apparent because that pagoda is fantastic. The fact that they motorized the dance floor with all the people with the money spinning was fantastic. I was really surprised. I was really amazed for this build, considering that they are not normally mock builders. So I think they've got some chops to stick into it for at least half season, at least for sure.
Well, I'll definitely say I really like the color. I think it's all balanced very well. I think the design's pretty good. Christopher's definitely competitive, though. That's one thing that stood out really quickly. Is this guy was looking at all the other builds. It could have been part of the editing, but that man was sprinting around like crazy. I like this
Almost as
build
much
a
as
lot.
Emily.
What's that?
But for different
Almost as
reasons.
much as Emily was.
For different reasons.
But yeah, I like the build. I do have to point out, I think the pagoda, as nicely detailed as it is, I do think it's a little bit small compared to the rest. Like the unicorn horns are almost the same size, at least maybe from this shot here. But yeah, I thought that maybe just a little undersized for their big focal point. But that was literally my only critique. I really like the color, and I love the motion with the guys dancing with the money. And that was quite humorous as well.
When they turned the motors on, I was like, "Oh, that was well done."
Mhm.
Yeah, that was. And before we move on, something I forgot for us to talk about. What do you think the builders heard as, because we got our version, but what do you think the builders heard was the stipulations or whatever for the build? What was the brief for the build? My Lego Master friends, what do you think?
Okay, so I may have heard a rumor about some of the guidelines they were given and then changed throughout the episode.
Classic.
Started out, you couldn't use any motors or power functions, but then halfway through they were allowed to. There were minimum height requirements. That's why you saw a pillar of white brick on
Noticed
Brad
that.
and Mike's build. early on, and
Yep.
so they weren't building a mast. They were trying to figure out how high they needed to get, and that's why everybody's boat has something like you see here. Chris and Robert have a pagoda, and I think that was about it. There was also hopefully your boat survives the water. I don't know if that was necessarily determining whether you make it to the bottom or not, because I think Brad and Mike's boat didn't necessarily sink; it just kind of was wobbling a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but there was definitely some things you don't hear about. And I wish we had, because that would make it more interesting for me. And I think most of us here like mocks. So.
Yep.
I will say this is really similar to our episode 1, the parade float. You have a platform you work on. It's a very limited size, which is refreshing. But you can build pretty much whatever you want inside of the prompt. I think the whole sailing thing was relatively secondary. Sometimes we kind of just naturally assume both are equally judged. I think this was mostly to do with the build and how much it's linked to you as a team. That's really what they were going for. I remember one of Amy's critiques, or was it Amy or was it Jamie? One of them critiqued our Vikings set a little bit, saying it wasn't quite the easiest thing for them to link it directly to us. Like there wasn't a huge perfect connection. There was more explaining. So I think that's more
You should have
important.
just went. We're from Scandinavia. We know we're
I mean, realistically, I
We're the Vikings, yes.
I just think that was Jamie's ignorance of the SON on the end of your name and not understanding that it's Scandinavian. I mean, you freaking have been living in Denmark of all places. You should understand that someone's last name with SON is going to be something linked to Vikings. I don't know. But I digress.
But what I'm saying is that this is your introduction build, and that's what's important. So.
Yeah. So we think, because everybody had it, do we think lettering was a thing?
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Which it does make sense. I would have loved to have heard that was a thing and then paid attention to the skills, because a lot of the lettering was done pretty well and some wasn't done very well. So that was a definite, skill point. That was an important skill point, but it just got glossed over. So anyway.
Oh, quickly, worth noting before we get into all the rest of the boats, this is the shortest first episode in U.S. North America Lego Masters history. First season, 15 hours. Second season, 14 hours. Third season, 13 hours. And 10 hours for this episode. So they are shaving off that clock.
Surprisingly, yeah.
That's a great point. Is that fair to new builders?
It's nice to have a long episode at the beginning. I'll just say that.
Now, at the same time, every season has had the same total amount of build time, just more episodes and shortened down for each season progressing.
Interesting statistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and we know, and we'll talk about it, the team that went home, and they really struggled, and man, just getting your bearings in this environment is tough. So 10 hours is hard to do. All right, so there we go. There's Duck Bricks and Christian Roberts. There we go. The next one, Nina and Sam, the Teapot Trawler, which was the winner of the episode, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, correct.
All right, your thoughts on this?
Great color. I'll quote Amy on that one. Really good color. I love the dark teal, the orange, and the yellow. And I loved when Sam mentioned near the end, he said, okay, let's do this, but let's not overdo it. Let's not over detail it. Like, thank you. Yes, don't over detail it. Like, it's so easy with something like this and not a very large space to go too much. But it's nicely balanced. I like it.
Yeah, I was going to say the overall composition was very attractive. Like the use of filler and then empty space, like the spacing and the lettering looks pretty good. The distribution of detail. It has not been bedazzled to death. Those of you of a certain age, remember people used to sell this thing called the bedazzler that let you put cheap rhinestones on clothing. It has not been bedazzled to death. Like I thought the overall composition was just fantastic on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the pictures from the placards that they gave us on the episode, you couldn't see what's going on because they did for the details they did put inside was very specific and unique to them. So that was really cool. A little dance party going on in there. Just a cool build. Enough, but not overdone. So I agree. Yeah.
Did anybody notice? I know the one team built a little bit of a brick built character, but they were very heavily focused on minifigs. Do you think that was in the brief too, or was that just a necessity of the size?
I think the size determined that.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of brick built characters in this one too.
I think
Oh,
that's
did you?
just a good strat.
So
Yeah,
anything, the tilty thing, that was a really cool. It was a different motion. It wasn't spinning like everybody else's was. It was a
Yeah.
tilt. So that set it apart too. So like it. All right, let's go
The
on
higher
to
you
the
can see
next
it.
one. The granny.
This is pretty hilarious. Not gonna lie.
By the way, do you notice it's not on the pontoons in this picture? Because
Well,
this
it's
is
'cause it's-
animated, right?
Yeah, it's the animated version.
They
Yeah.
fished it out of the water and put it on their thing. I'm sure.
Or they were smart enough to take enough photographs ahead of time.
Well, I will say this: Mark and I know, and we know the guy that animates a lot of these things, and he picks it up after the show and takes it back. That baby ripped off the pontoon base, and he just probably took it back. I'm guessing.
Dried it off a
All the
little
water
bit.
out.
You shake the water out.
But yeah, no, I am Team Granny. I was impressed at their build. Even though that might look like a hooter on the front, I don't know what that is, but really cool, really good job with the laces and all this kind of thing. Do you think they got to test these things to float before they floated them, or
No.
did they just
No.
throw them in the water?
Sink or swim.
So yeah, they built this pretty solid and everything. So what your thoughts on the build and the lettering and all the stuff?
Well, the only thing that concerns me for the whole thing, and I really like it, I think the colors are great and it's very lively. My only beef is that it's not very nautical. It's not very boat themed, and most of these aren't extremely boat themed to begin with. But it's from a fairy tale. It's really creative, but I'm not seeing the connection to the boat. But it is a party. That's a good part of it. So they got at least half the prompt. They took care of that.
Well, you
But
know
yeah,
what,
just
though?
a little.
But
What's
Mark, but Stephen, I gotta disagree. That why does it have to be a boat?
I mean, it
I mean,
doesn't
it's
have to
pon-
be a
it's
boat,
sitting
but you
on a
get more
pontoon
points if
boat.
it's a boat, I think.
It's sitting on a pontoon boat, but that's the beauty is that it doesn't have to look like a boat to be a boat. I mean,
Fair
I
enough.
give-
Fair
I give
enough.
them props for going out of the box and not just doing a ship that is a standard boat that you would find on the water. I'm really disappointed that somebody didn't do a spaceship instead. You know,
We got a castle though.
right? You know, we're going to talk about that castle, and that castle is freaking awesome.
Yes.
I
And
think
by the
the
way,
reason they
we
didn't-
technically we say this was a boat. It fell off really fast. It was never a boat.
It wasn't exactly seaworthy. That's the
It's
problem.
true. Seaworthy or not, it could have been a boat anchor for all that we know. But I still
Yeah,
think it's a boot boat. I still think
Okay.
they didn't do.
Wait. I need
boat
Jeff
boat.
to say that. Can you say that?
What are you
Jeff?
guys talking about? I knew you were going there eventually. Jeez.
But I like it though. I like it overall.
I do. Oh, there's Brick Snaps. How you doing? That's true.
Exactly. They don't look like a
In the South.
Accurate.
That's a good point.
That's awesome. But it's cool that this got to go to animation. That means it's something special and all that kind of stuff, which is we've noticed in the show. They pick a build. And so props to the grannies who we all in ourselves went, they're not going to last. And they knocked it out of the park for what they did. Fantastic. Snot building and knowing the brick is amazing. All right. Our friend Tim and Tim, the fire sale. All right. One of the things we don't get to see on this view is they really did some really cool, colorful lettering on the back. They highlighted that early in the show because they made it look like everybody was like, wow, their lettering is really good. And it was. They used some color in it. So that's awesome. What do you guys think?
Well, I think to mimic what Steven said earlier, and also to talk about what I think it was Jamie who mentioned, or no, maybe Amy. There was too much going on in this one, and that if they had dialed it back just a little bit, but again, experience of what the judges are looking for, pluses and minuses. This is the time to find out going forward. So, but other than that, I mean, but on the flip side, I like that they crammed it full of all sorts of cool stuff because that's what I want to see. But that's me, and I'm not Jamie and Amy. So
I think that Tim and Tim were subjected to some psych stuff going on here. Basically, the production will try to get you off your game a little bit by giving you extra critique, and we're only seeing a sentence of an entire discussion for each boat. So
Correct.
it could also be editing. So, but I think that I don't think Tim and Tim were in any danger here. Their build might have been a little bit crowded, but I think it's a party boat. I mean, at what level is too many guests on the party boat? You know, I don't know.
exactly, exactly.
I wasn't so sold on. I think it was Amy who said there wasn't a major focal point.
Yeah,
That might be the case, but I do like the character at the front. I like the bull at the front. That's pretty fun, like a figurehead on a boat. You know, that's
exactly.
I like that quite a bit. So I would almost I wouldn't 100% agree with that one, but I think I agree with the rest. It's a little crowded, just a bit.
I think maybe there's not an overall form to it. Like there's not a flow of going back to the there's a flow there. There's a flow there from front to back. You can kind of see it all connected. There might not be as much, but it does look a little distorted. There's not a like a going from small to big in the back or whatever and everything. But they did great. I think they did fantastic. So they landed mid-pack, I guess, for the show, and that's kind of where you want to be, right? I think that's good, and they made it around, and we got to see him running the remote and everything, making it around the bank. All right, it's Mike and Brad. This is the build. Spoiler alert: that did not make it through. The team did not make it through the show. All right, so let's talk about their build.
All right, so first and foremost, I thought of Matthew as soon as, I don't know whether it was Mike or Brad who mentioned the name of their build. I was like, oh my God, they're letting this on national TV as the Bear Shack. I'm guessing that one of the censors didn't realize what was going on here and what was the sub-connotation here, but that just cracked me up.
Yes, I was actually already Facebook friends with Brad as a builder before any of this stuff was going on, and he's a member of Gay Foals, where gay and lesbian people have their own forum and we post. And so the fact that he did the Bear Shack, I literally laughed out loud at the house. We were sitting there watching it, and Thomas is like, are people even gonna know what that means? Like, this is like an inside joke.
That's just it. It is an inside. I mean, it's you have to know, but the gay community definitely knows. So.
So the whole Bear Shack thing, I was like, well, okay.
Exactly. Too funny.
All right. So let's talk about the fact that as a team, it seemed, and I've talked to people on the show, they're like, yeah, the time as represented was the struggle that they had at 4 hours or 6 hours or whatever. They really didn't have anything down. All right. Yeah. So let's talk about that struggle there. Obviously, it's real because they did it. We've seen other teams have to struggle with that. What are some of the factors that cause that kind of struggle?
You don't know where the parts are.
Yep.
You could be getting a few too many ideas. You're very excited and terrified. There's $35 million cameras all around you, and so it's more pressure than you've ever been under your whole life. So I can see anybody freezing up. Me and Steven had moments where we were like deer in the headlights. You just don't know what to do. You're like, panicking. And so that's clearly they were having a lot of trouble for many hours, and they just weren't able to get everything they wanted in their build. I don't think it looks like they're just kind of basically making a little greenhouse, try and meet the height requirements and trying to get some of their ideas. They wanted a VW kind of style to it, but I think that they got started too late because they just froze up. So.
It's a snowball effect too. Once you lose 30 minutes and you lose an hour and then all that other stuff, you see everybody else going really quickly, and it really weighs on you mentally. But you're right about the Lego thing. I kind of half forgot about that. Your own collection is really like your mind is in tune to that versus a brand new one. Even though it's nicely organized, it's laid out very differently from what you're used to. So that's a problem. As far as idea generation is concerned, This one is the challenges that have a lot of freedom are also really hard because with the parade float, like build whatever you want, it just needs to be a parade float. Like, okay, where do you start? You know, it's writer's block essentially. Same sort of thing, which is a more common than builder's block, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure when you have the judges looking over your shoulder. You have all these people. The whole new environment, it can be a nightmare.
Yeah,
And
one of the
they're
things,
into me a 10-hour build, your first show. They got to not eliminate on first day. I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, dude, that is really, 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 really mean. I'm just going to say it right now. But last year we had that. This year we have that. You don't know your way around. I don't know how much training they've had in the brick pit to know. But dude, 10 hours and you're out if you lose. That's hard, man. Do y'all think that's fair?
I don't agree with it. What do you think,
I
Brian?
definitely don't agree with it, but I do wonder if the mentality or the thought process is let's weed out the low-hanging fruit first. And if you come in and you can't acclimate quickly, well, you're the first to go. While I think it's horribly unfair because you could have a really great builder who just is not prepared for the situation.
Yeah.
But I can see someone saying, well, let's get the least, the low-hanging fruit out of here the fastest is maybe their process of elimination quickly, I would guess.
Australia does it better because they start out with 8 teams. They don't eliminate anyone for several episodes, and then they get rid of a couple teams, and then you have a few more. So it's like they do it a completely different system. It's not just pack too many people in a room, weed out somebody every episode, even if they don't get a chance to build.
Right.
Everyone gets a couple episodes, and then if they're really still not landing any good builds, then they definitely are going home. So
Question that says, did anyone yet? Last season was the first season that they dropped somebody front and center, and we argued the fact that they may not have been the bottom team on that episode.
Yeah,
but we kind of figured they did that boot because they had the special thing where they're bringing the other team, which is our friends Ethan and Dom coming in, which is another story for those young men and what they went through. But so maybe there's something like that coming. But still, I'm like, Matt, you're friends with them, and I don't want you to share anything they've shared that you can't share. But did they express a little bit of anger, frustration with that, or can you? I don't want you to goof them up. So
they've expressed a number of things that I cannot repeat on air.
Good answer. Good answer. Yeah.
Is it because of language, or is it because of what they've signed?
I think confidentiality has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Both.
Both. Yeah. And last year the little couple, or was it brother and sister? They were brother and sister, right?
Brother and sister out of Pocatello, Idaho.
They didn't seem to have a big online presence that we knew about. I know it's different for these guys. They're on Instagram, but man, I haven't seen or even seen them at a convention or anything after being dropped first week. Have y'all?
Contrary, I thought I saw Mike and Brad doing an awesome build at BrickCon. They actually got nominated for Best in Show. So I mean,
I think he's talking about
other way around, bro.
Sorry.
Other way around.
Yeah, they actually were both at Virginia, and then we actually saw her in Utah. So they are active, but on a much smaller scale than most of the Lego Masters contestants and people. So yeah, I think that they were, but maybe just not as well known, perhaps. So.
But we didn't have a lot of screen time with them. There's 12 teams now, and they were on for 5 minutes in the show if you piece all their screen time together or less. And so I think it's unfortunate. I really don't think it's fair. I hated that they ran into builders block and difficulties. So that was tough.
What's interesting to me is that, and this is all publicly available, so I can talk about it. But as one of the Ericksons, I forget which one of you said it, but like they have taken stuff. They brought a really nice build, or just Brad came to Salt Lake, but at the Seattle convention, they won an award. They had Everyone is Awesome build. It was big. It was colorful. It was complicated. So it's clear to me that they have talent, like they can build stuff. And another phase that I can't talk about, they also built something that was very impressive. So I mean, like, I have no doubt that if they had just found a way to maybe muddle through this very first contest, they might have lasted longer. And I mean, maybe you could say that about every single team that got eliminated in the first week of a TV show, but it does kind of make you go, gee, you know, if they had the Australian format where they had a little bit more time to get their feet under them, would the sequence of elimination look different? And, you know, we can't answer that question without doing it, but it's very clear to me that there's talent there. So,
yeah. I mean, even if you got, for the first episode, the winner gets an advantage, or if you lose, you get a disadvantage, but you still get time to come back from that, right? And maybe not go home first week so that you can get that screen time. But hey, it's not my show. And props to them for doing a great job. They came together. They got a build together that was presentable. They actually didn't sync, all that kind of stuff. So they met some of the stuff. So kudos to them for getting it back together and creating something great. All right, let's move on here. Aubrey and Ryan. This is brother-sister team. Is that correct?
Husband, wife.
Husband and wife. Okay, I can't see it.
Or
like I'm getting,
Southern. No, forget it.
Yeah.
Well,
they are from
Utah
Utah.
team are coming up.
Anyway,
ambivalent.
in northeast Georgia, not northwest Georgia. That could be anyway. Sorry. All right. So I believe on the Atlanta Brick Co. breakdown of this, our friend Daniel said that this family was like straight off of a postcard or
stock images,
stock photo
stock
family.
images. They're in the frame that you get when you buy a frame at the store, you know, kind of thing. I'm sure they're lovely people, so we're just kind of goofing here. But so they talk about playing Lego and stuff with their kids. Talk about their build here.
So that fringe, the grass skirt around the whole island vibe theme comes through really, really well.
Mhm.
My big complaint on this is that pineapple in front doesn't look like a pineapple.
No.
It looks like a tent. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks more like it's like they chopped off the outside of a pineapple as opposed to making it look like a pineapple. But again, being nitpicky, 10 hours cramming that thing together. At least they did make it look somewhat snot shaped and around it, and so we're just being picky. But that would be the only complaint I have about it. Otherwise, I feel this is a very tropical, islandy feel thing to it. I don't know what it has to do specifically with them. I think it was like they like to go on vacations or something like that. Maybe that was it. But I liked. I mean, the rest of the island feel was great. I like that.
So to follow up on Dana's comment about the shape of the pineapple, when I was in this building competition with Maddie, I'm building a part of it, and I showed it to her, and I'm like, "Give me some feedback." And she goes, "Oh, I'm sure it's fine." I said, "No, give me some feedback. Does it look like what I'm supposed to be building?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, it does. It does." And I was like, I wasn't fishing for compliments. I wanted you to warn me, like, that does not look like that does not look like what you're supposed to be building.
Right.
And that does not really look like a pineapple.
Well, what's funny is the back of that stadium. If you look, that's the technique of 1x3s and cans make a curved shape. That part looks like a pineapple hull, and peeled pineapple in the front.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
Interesting. I will say, I want to give props to the landscaping. I really like the palm trees. Clearly. I don't know which one of the team is more into Lego or if they're equally into Lego, but somebody on that team really likes their landscaping. And you see it a lot with the plants. Everything is spaced out just right. There's not too much or not too little.
Yep.
And I also like that it's pretty easy to see the action. You can see the fire dancers pretty nicely. You can see the audience pretty nicely. It maybe could do a little bit more, but it's nice that they didn't go overboard. No pun intended. My family is oh my word. Anyway, I have to agree with everybody. The pineapple is just a little too square, but at least you can kind of guess what it is. Generally,
But,
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm being nitpicky, and it's 10 hours, so I'm just being nitpicky. Yeah. So this is my Philip and Maria pick. That's who they are. This is Philip and Maria for season 4. That's what I'm saying.
Oh
And
yeah,
by,
yeah.
the way,
That's
Dark,
great.
by the way, Aubrey, and you wonder why I call you Dark Aubrey, because you are the Wish version of Aubrey and Ryan. So there we go. So it's
He's
all
now Wish Aubrey. That's what.
now Wish Aubrey, so which is great. Yeah.
One of the things I love about the vegetation is that a lot of vegetation ends up being very square looking, which of course natural vegetation is not. But they did a really nice job of varying the angles, and each one of those palm trees looks different, but they also still look like palm trees. So they did it well.
I cannot remember. I know one of the builds had their lettering was very, very not good. I don't know if it was them or not, but I don't see lettering in this though. Anyway, all right. Pretty cool. I like the lanterns and stuff like that. They do have some flow going and everything. So let's go to Poppy and Ben. I'm excited about this little team here. I thought it was cool, and they have a cool story, and the fact that they actually built down into that boat area, the floats, to tie that into the boat a little bit. That's kind of nice, right there. What do you think about this team? Think about this build.
Great build. It's not quite a party though, but I love like the combination of their two stories. Execution of the build's fine. You got some nice height. Got some different layers. I would just love to see more people, a little more pizzazz, maybe some fireworks or something on the top. Make it more, I don't know. But it just needs a little bit more happy life in it. So yeah.
The queen didn't make sense on this one.
Mm-mm.
Like
Yeah,
It was
that
to
to
go
me
with
is
the
their-
nuclear reactor that they got dinged for.
Yeah,
But-
they needed something like a thing spinning around to make it look like an atom. I think
Yeah.
to kind of pull that off. Maybe I don't know.
For me. Go ahead.
The one thing that made me chuckle is when they made fun of them for putting a nuclear reactor in a boat. When my dad was in the U.S. Navy and that's his job was to run the nuclear reactor on the boat, I'm like, there are boats with nuclear reactors. Like, it's not crazy. They're just all in the U.S. military. That's awesome.
Exactly.
It's
Again,
not
you
usually a
know,
glowing,
people who live in Denmark, so I don't know.
it's not usually a glowing ball in the middle of the ship, though, right? Like
Fair.
or,
It does have a containment vessel around it, but
yeah.
Yeah, this was as far as the boat, I really like the old vintage look. I wish they had leaned into that a little more and less into the crane and industrial nuclear fusion thing. They got hooked on the word fusion way too much, I think. But I really like their vintage aesthetic. I think it looks like an old one of those boats that are on the Mississippi River. Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, it looked like New Orleans architecture. I actually really like the fence.
Exactly. It's very stylish. The problem is the theme is not there, and that's their biggest. That's what sunk them in the end. So.
Yeah. Well, and props to that wheel on the side on both sides. That looks really, really good. I mean, that's really, really solid build. So, so this is maybe a sleeper team here. These guys, it's really cool to have this relationship and this story, I think, and it ties well to the build. So they did a good job on that. All right, here we go. Lewis and Alex's Teacher Tiki Lounge. All right. So these guys I don't think they got very much screen time at all.
No, these last few did not.
Yeah,
the last few we go through are going to be very small screen time.
Yeah. They're like, oh, this one. We didn't even see this one in the water. This one, and they're done. So, but they did get quoted as saying, "We hate our kids when they're not with us as teachers," or something like that. So, kind of awkward.
Yeah,
Which, if you know a teacher, it's they love their kid, they love their students, they hate their students. It's all fair game.
It is. What do you guys think about this? When I looked at what we thought maybe, and we're just speculating what a height requirement is, I don't think they made it.
Yeah, this one's weak.
This out of all of them, I was surprised that they weren't towards the bottom, depending on what the criteria was, because it was just a very vanilla build, even compared to the one that got sent home. So
and it's square. It's just a square.
Yeah, it's a box on top of a platform with a couple of palm trees and a spinning tiki sign. So I question shenanigans, but who knows?
Yeah.
So Lewis is a very, very skilled builder, and I know that they're capable of much more, even if it's just him building. But I think that as far as the comments at the beginning, I think that I can speak from experience that on your first episode of Lego Masters, talking to Amy and Jamie one-on-one is absolutely petrifying. And
Yeah.
he was probably struggling to get a sentence out like I was when we first presented our first build. So I can really relate to Lewis on that. But
It was
is
a rocky
really
road.
great fellow. Hopefully we'll get to see more from them later, and actually more than maybe 30 seconds of screen time. So.
Well, what we've always seen or we've theorized is that the more screen time you get earlier in the season, the shorter time you're on the show. So
Sometimes, yeah.
the less screen time you get during the first couple episodes is an indicator that you're probably going to be seeing more of later.
Maybe, although Dana, I will
Not
point
as a
this
rule,
out.
not
I
as a
don't know
rule.
if it,
Not as a rule, but just
yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't know if it's the same for other seasons, but they were editing our season as we were filming it. So that's possible, but I don't know what they're doing now as far as editing.
Well, this was filmed in February, March, and it's now airing now. So they had a lot of time.
They do, but most of the initial editing is done early. But yeah.
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 But I agree. I don't like the palm trees compared to the last build. The colors kind of nice, but it's a lot of white going on. But the complementary colors are pretty fun. But
That border's kind of cool.
yeah,
the little
it's-
repeating design is kind of cool.
It's pretty good, but it's just enough to get by. I think just enough to get by.
Yeah.
Nothing beyond that.
I mean, honestly, it's dots, right? Like it's
Mhm.
it's a good color palette, but it's I don't know. I don't find it that fancy.
This is Lego Masters, not Lego Get Buyers.
And,
This
I mean,
is
we love you
getting
guys.
top
We love
three.
Lewis Howard. You guys
Hey,
are great.
hey.
We're just
Lewis
saying.
is a friend of mine. We'll be good.
It's going to be awkward at the next convention.
If they watch the show, yeah. This was
All right.
an interesting one.
Yeah, Allison and Melanie's The Musicianship, which is a great pun and all this kind of stuff. It does have a brick built character, the big octopus guy. And even in this view, the critique they got was accurate. You can't see it.
yeah.
Yep. We could just see the corner of his eyeball, and that's it.
But the guitars, brilliant.
Mhm.
Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's really clever because it reads well on television. It has scale. It has color. The inside is totally not obvious, but the sides alone, I think, that's what pushed them to into safe category where they get to advance the next week.
As a comment to that, sorry, I was just gonna say if they had dropped the guitars so that the actual part where the strings are was level with the edge of the boat, maybe had them angled out a little bit or something like that, that would have worked a lot better, I think.
Agree.
You just rotate them 180, and I think they would have been like fine.
Yeah, Jamie pointed that out on the show. He nailed it. Like if you turn it around and then put the octopus up a little bit, perfect. It's it's really good. But yeah.
Or if they had made those guitar shapes, but left them hollow
Yeah.
so that you could see through them because they're basically just giant walls to block what's
That's a
going
good
on.
point, like a
inside.
rim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of create the shape because I think the shape is fantastic, and even if you flipped it around, you would have had to have elevated the octopus up even higher, and I think that might have been more of a challenge for them for weight, and they would have ran into the same thing the grannies did. But if they had made them hollow to give the illusion of the guitars and create that negative space, I think would have been really cool. So great idea. Just if they probably had more time, they might have rethought some details a little bit.
Yeah.
Although,
I do like
when you
the
did see
mock,
it-
though.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I do like the look of it though. Like it
Yeah.
the octopus was really amazing. It was like they did really well building it.
Some of the best colors this episode. But when you did see the octopus, it did look really good. Like it was quite nice. It looked more like a pineapple than the pineapple, frankly. I mean, it's quite funny. I'm sorry, guys, but it's really good. I liked it a lot. It is.
Yeah. So I will say this reminds me a little bit of the first season Nick and Stacy's build, the spaceship they made that had a lot of bright colors, a lot of big basic shapes, but they were really good shapes. And they weren't the winners and everything. And I think they should have been. The firemen won that one with their fireman symbol and everything. So that gives me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, hey, this team kind of goes up in my possible top 3 team. I think they've done a fantastic job here. So
We will definitely see them in the second half of the season.
I think so. All right, here we go. Here we go. This one I really, really like, even though it is a stupid castle. So Jordan and Chris, tell me about it.
So let's just get the elephant out of the way. If you've watched this show for 5 minutes, you know that Amy was going to hate this build because there wasn't enough color. I mean, if they had made that castle yellow, done. They would have been first place. If they had just made it a different color than gray, they would have been over the top because those spinning dragons, the big dragon on the back, the shields, the whole bit, the feel. This is an awesome build all the way around, except for it's a big giant glob of gray. So that's my point. That's my saying.
They haven't learned the lesson yet. They will
Nope.
soon.
I haven't learned yet.
All you got to do is watch like an episode of Lego Masters, and don't do this.
The only thing that could have been worse is if they'd made it tan because she
Right, that
doesn't
would have been
That would've been-
exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
So, quick note about Jordan and Chris. Jordan was the first AFOL I ever interacted with, like 13 years ago now. So I've known him for a very long time. Good friends. He's a very good builder, and this is actually like it looks like they were struggling with this build compared to what they normally do. So you should expect a lot more from them in future.
They are, after not knowing anybody on the show other than Tim and Tim, these guys are my number one pick. Just from watching their interaction, watching what they did, what they're bringing to the game, this is my number one team. This is my ride or die team.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. Well, you know what? It's funny. We talk about the one color. They got dinged when they were building that thing in the back. So they added some color in their bricks on that front thing. But can we talk about those towers up front? They're made out of teeth.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah. No, it's great crush usage, great snot. They're brick bending. They've got the chops. I mean, they did
They've also
character
got
builder on
lights.
the dragons. I mean, if they had done any other color than gray, they would have gone out with the win for the week.
I don't agree with that. I would not have given them the win if they'd gone with another color. I still think that the Sam build was better, but they would have maybe be in contention. They would have maybe been in the top two.
I'd say top three. I think they beat the pineapple build a bit. Is that what you're talking about, Matt? The pineapple one? Is that what you're referring to?
The winner that was the teacup.
The teacup.
Oh, yeah, no, I
still
don't think it beats the tea party, but it's very good. I think it's up there with Christopher and Robert's build, Duckbrick's build. I think it's a top three at least. I'd say. This reminds me of the pizza and hot dog from Dave and Richard. I'm getting that vibe, sort of like as far as the placing is concerned. That this is where it sort of fits that for me. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's Castle. What more do you need to say?
I would really love to see the detail in the Technic in those wings for that big dragon on top. There's some pattern and stuff going on there. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
So for me, the details are drawing me in to look at it more, and that's an important thing if you ask me.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
anyway, I like this one. This was one of my favorites personally. So, there you go. And we have the Dairy Fairy. What do you
great.
think about this?
I like the cow pattern they had around the other side. It was shot. You'd only see it for like a brief second, but they had like this sort of the pattern, like almost like Chick-fil-A, like going on the side of that. It was that was pretty fun to watch, and I like their word art. It's pretty funny. I mean,
Yes.
it looks really good. I'm sorry, the character is pretty funny. The word art looks good. My bad.
Yeah. Agreed. And they do have that lady in the blue pants mooning us, but that's okay. But I'm gonna also then just say this is very simple shape. There's not a whole lot of outside of the norm build going on here. I don't think.
Yeah, it was very safe, middle of the road build.
Yeah, and this is brother sister team, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
All right, props there. Any other thoughts on this build? It's a fantastic build. I don't want to
The
dog it.
composition is better than several we've seen. You can see the cheese right in the center. It's all very simple, plain building techniques, but the way that they've laid it out means that they're totally safe and they're moving on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, total middle of the pack, checking off the check marks, not trying to go outside and do anything crazy, playing it safe. Truthfully, smart for this round.
Yeah.
So,
I will
But they'll-
say though, I bet a lot of these look quite a bit nicer in person. You
Oh, that's a
the
given.
angle here, you can't even see what's going on. I'm
Yeah,
sure you could very easily,
Yeah.
standing next to it, see the fun going on inside of it. But right now, we just see the word art and the cheese, and that's it.
I remember when they were showing their build, it was a lot more fun than this picture feels like. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
I
it
will
told the
say-
story and stuff like that. So.
They're going to need to raise their game if they're going to last long.
It's true.
Mhm.
We're going to need to see more than what they showed us here. So
Yep, that's true. That's true. That's true. All right, here's the next one. Emily
Oh.
and Kelly's victory.
No. Was it this one that broke?
Yeah.
This one
This
one
one
fell.
broke hard.
Well, they ran into the dock. I think if they had been steering a little better, they would have been a little better off. But I don't know. We don't know what the criteria was completely. What put them in the bottom two, specifically. You know, we have an idea, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I felt Kelly's pain watching her build.
Mm-hmm.
I felt her pain. I love Emily. I think she's great. I think she's a great character. I think she's a great personality in person. But it was painful to watch Kelly be like, where are you going? What are you doing? We got 10 hours to build this.
Yeah.
So that I felt that pain. I felt that pain.
Now that's the edit. So you got to
Well, I
remember
know, that's true. That's
they're
true.
showing.
That's true.
I think they bit off more than they could chew. I think they
Yeah.
went for 3 layers. This is obviously double the height requirements of everybody else.
Yeah.
They could have knocked a layer off, put a way more detail in there, and probably been a lot safer. But so I think that they were just kind of had really big ambitions. They didn't realize that 10 hours goes by super quick, especially if you don't know the parts are.
Mhm.
So that's what I think was really the kicker. And they just made it a fun story by showing whenever Emily interacted with someone in that 10 hours. So my
Valid
opinion.
point.
Now that's just a guess. She could have been talking for half the time, and Kelly was just like shaking her head the whole time. You know. So.
Well, I don't know. Now, the funny thing, the reality of this, and Aubrey knows this, Aubrey was at the viewing party at Emily's house.
Wow.
And they showed, and Emily actually showed a picture. Here's the difference between me and Kelly. There's like 15,000 people in Emily's house. And
Yeah.
then Kelly is like with like, you know,
Okay.
significant other and a blanket watching the show.
That sounds nice.
Fantastic, right? This one was top 2. Aubrey is definitely a friend and a fan, and that's cool. But I will say, I mean, I've seen builds from both of these two, and this is not their best. I can tell you. I will say it's kind of neat that they actually built themselves and put themselves on the top, but you really can't see that because it's minifigs. So
Now,
Yeah.
does like Lego Masters? Everybody has their own custom fig that's made for them for the show, right?
Those
Like,
aren't the figs. I actually helped make the figs for this season, and those aren't done.
okay.
oh,
actually,
big. You made the figs for the trophy.
I helped make the figs.
Oh,
If
cool.
they were given, it looks like each team was given like a custom fig to put in their boat if they wanted to. However, that's unique to this season if that's the
Okay.
case, because
Yeah,
every
that's
other
gonna
time you
happen.
only got the figures when you walk in for the final judging. It's like everyone got them just in case you were done and you go and put your figure on the wall.
Yep.
So
You only ever held your figure at the end of the competition. That was it. Yeah.
this would be new for this season if that's the case. So, yeah.
But I don't think those are them. It was a while ago. I don't think those were them though.
There were so many people at the viewing party. Emily built a lot of the ship. That was the edit. Okay. All right. Good to know.
Good to know.
Mark, good observation, Mark.
Well, then I would like to know where their struggle. I mean, again, we didn't get to see enough or be revealed enough as to what their struggle was, because I mean, while structurally it's sound, I mean, they got those 2 floors are being held just by the back end, so structurally it's sound. Maybe probably not the best weighted. Who knows? The tennis court on top was kind of like almost like an afterthought, maybe. I don't know. But those turtles or whatever they are that they're riding on the first floor, those are awesome. Those are
Yeah.
cool looking. I mean, I don't know. I'm not getting what the story was about those specifically, but I think they're cool. So
I think that was the one issue. Like, what's the story? Why are there giant turtles under a tennis court? That's my only issue. Like, the colors are fine, right? And the overall layout's not bad at all. But the problem is you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
Even
This
then,
is a
after
really cool
they're
story to me.
yeah, after they're talking about it, I don't even remember what it was. Just watching the show. That's the only problem. The direction was not very well guided. That's their biggest problem.
Yeah.
Steven, why do you hate turtles? I mean, come on.
No, I like I like the turtles. What are you talking about?
I'm teasing you.
What are you talking about?
I love the turtles.
No, they're great.
So let's just quickly before we go, what would you have built? Dana and I tasted Dana as like, Dana, dang it, we should be on this freaking show, and we would have built the mothership. There would have been a space theme, spinning UFO, the whole thing. That would have been us, I think. That would have been my idea to present as a team.
And I would have, well, I mean, because I joke about the fact that, you know, everything we would incorporate to be space, and Amy and Jamie would be like, you need to do something other than space. That would be that would be our note.
And we would just eye to eye and go space, and then just keep on building, and then go home.
Yeah, and get sent home because we built space again. But I mean, the mothership, the puns there. It's a spaceship on water because let's do something other than a boat. But yet it's a boat. I mean, yeah, it would have been total aliens
pulling up
out
a
of the
cow,
water.
the cow spinning, all the things, right? That would have been awesome.
It'd have been suction cup monsters for aliens. It'd have been the whole water theme too. I don't know.
See, you guys should totally apply for the next few seasons. Just get in there. Get in there.
Here, Mark,
Well,
Mark, I think I can guess what you and I would have built just without even talking to you about this.
Stereotype would say Vikings, but I would actually.
I was going to do Vikings. Yes, yes. A big old Viking ship that's made to look kind of like a raft, like for fun, like almost like a dock mixed with a boat, with a big sail saying, you know, Viking feast or something like that, and have them all partying because Vikings could party, man. So yeah, I would have done that. The pineapple.
Yeah, a wish pineapple. Yeah,
Wish pineapple.
Wish pineapple. Yeah. The sea turtle, the moving feet, and everyone. I can't see.
Sea turtle would be
that's
cool.
cool.
Sea
That'd be
turtle would be
cool.
cool. Definitely
As
cool.
long as
big
you have a
animal would
party,
be awesome.
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely Vikings, right? Like we would have done something probably not too dissimilar to what we had the first time around with season 2. If we were on this season, I would have done Vikings.
I think Chris's alternate build would have been something off of Noah's Ark. Would have been another fun thing to do, and little brick built animals all
Brilliant.
along it and stuff like that. That'd have been fun. That'd have been fun.
Yeah.
Would they allow that?
No.
I don't know, probably not. But yeah.
All right, Jeff, any idea what you'd build?
No. Honestly, I'm trying to think of a Canadian boat, like canoe. I don't know, but that's like
A giant beaver.
A big beaver tail.
Giant beaver. with
Yeah,
a tail
well, I
on
guess
the back.
if the bear thing got away, then I guess the beaver could work, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I can see it now. It's like a beaver down in the front of the boat would be the beaver's head, and then
With
his
the
tail
two
up in the
teeth coming
back,
down.
and the name of it on his tail,
The
Yeah.
teeth hanging down in the water.
Yeah.
you
Head,
know.
teeth. Yeah.
and the paw and the paws all hanging over the edge.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sandlin, what would you build, sir, if you thought about it?
Well, you guys already said space, so I mean,
Space.
There it is. What about you? What about you, Matt?
Well, I would say Maddie was more the. So when I was working with Maddie in the process, she would always push me to go in a more imaginative direction. So I can easily imagine Maddie. I would have said something pedestrian like, "Let's do something pirates," and she would have been like, "No, but it's got to be zombie pirates," and I would have been like, "Okay, it's zombie pirates." Like, you know, that was the thing that I really like about having her as my audition partner. So mine would have probably been like, let's do something pirate related, and she would have totally twisted that into some in a direction I never would have thought of. And so that was the fun thing about, she was always more imaginative to me, and then I would be like, okay, here's how we can execute that crazy idea. You know? So she hasn't
No, I
watched
did
the
not,
show
but
yet.
I guess maybe I need to go back and watch it.
Maddie hasn't watched the show yet, so I haven't been able to have the conversation with her about, okay, what would we have built if we were cast? So.
Well, can I say that of all the ideas I've heard, zombie pirate pup party is like the best idea ever. You got
Absolutely.
minifigs holding like arms of other minifigs, and they're instead of the money, they just got bloody arms and they're spinning around. That would have been hilarious.
I think I second that motion. That is probably the best idea.
That'd be pretty fun.
we probably would have maybe been bumping up against the like boundary of what is kid friendly at some point in the season if we'd been cast, because we probably would have gone with a way too much blood splatter on our builds or something like that.
It's
But-
airing at 9:00. You're good.
Yeah.
We did like 2 zombie builds at least. We did our car build and our house build were both haunted themes that were there was slime and nasty teeth and stuff like that. So yeah, you can get away with some of it, I'm sure.
That's it, man. That's it. All right. So going into next week, I tell you what we'll do is I still can't figure out my top 3, but I've changed my mind. I had Emily and her team. That was one of my top 3s. I'm a little worried for them, but it's only the first build and everything like that. The grannies are really good. The teacup team is super good. There's a lot of good teams here that we're seeing, but I really got to see them in a more bigger build challenge than this to really know who they are and what they can do, kind of thing. So maybe,
And my big
maybe
concern
we'll do our top 3 next Monday. Let's do that. Let's plan on that.
And my
right?
big concern is that while there are definitely some building chops on this season, it's the question of that what Mark and Steven have been preaching from the whole time is that it's the time. It's your killer. It's your killer. Not everybody's built and capable of doing that kind of pressure and that kind of on-demand building where you're used to taking time and weeks to plan out a build and then throwing it together. This is on the fly. So
Yeah,
I
months
mean-
versus minutes.
yeah.
That's what
I
you have to
mean,
convert it to.
mentally, things can happen to you after the show.
What?
Oh, that was the best 15 minutes I ever spent in my life making that.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my beard was
Actually-
really long then. Wow. Oh.
Actually, this was the best part from your party. This guy.
Oh, Adam. Oh, there's an Exonite in the back. You see that?
Exactly. So
He's
much.
like, I have
awesome.
no idea what's happening tonight. That's so funny. Yeah, you know what? That's the thing, and then that's the challenge. We'll complain about the building and the buildings and all this kind of stuff, but until you're under that clock, all bets are off. And a lot of times you've got to make a lot of choices that may compromise what you want to make as a good build for a mock to finish the competition and win. And you guys have said that multiple times, right?
Mhm.
So
And you got to be Canadian now.
apparently, this is like, how many wins in a row is this for the Canadians on our show?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Going back from last
500?
season?
Yeah, no.
You need your spreadsheet. You need to just start adding bonuses every time they win on our season now. It just continues on.
They're-
I'll make a new version.
They're
Welcome
just
back to Canada.
they're just piling on because we keep winning the Stanley Cup, and so this is their revenge.
Oh.
Okay.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
All right. Hey, you guys join us on Thursday. Do we know what we're talking about? No, but we will have a show on Thursday, so join us for that. Be awesome and build awesome, everybody. Good night. Be kind to your neighbor and be thinking about praying about our friend Pink Wheels. We're praying you have a great week. Get better soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.